mi gente? It's your girl Nina Montañez.
It's your girl Paula WJ here.
And you're tuning into
Round and Urban.
Life BC.
I'm so excited to be back.
I feel like it deserves hands.
It does.
Deserves hands. Because we haven't been...
guns.
We haven't...
I tried to hold that in.
We haven't been here in a minute, and it's just like exciting to be back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we didn't go on a hiatus. We still gave you content. We still gave you episodes. We just didn't give you video, and the video that we did give you was great. Mm-hmm. It works for what it needed to do. Mm-hmm. But obviously, when you look at analytics and you don't get to see our faces, they drop a little, they dip a little bit, and that's not a bad thing. But we just wanted to be able to give you guys, you know, a full episode and just get back into routine because it threw me off.
But you know what's crazy? It's like it's technically only been 2 weeks of like, but that's a lot.
No,
14 days.
Well, because we had 3 episodes in the chamber.
Oh, that's true.
Remember?
Oh,
so we were like, oh, we had episodes already to go.
That's true.
So it's been like almost a month.
In one of those weeks though, we were in Chicago. And
yeah.
I will say. We still pushed through because that was a tired episode. I don't know.
We was tired.
We were just like, we had a nice setup too in the room. In theory, we could have
absolutely recorded.
But we just were
giving you video and everything, and we just had.
I had no more to give.
Yo, we was pouring from an empty cup. Not gonna hold you.
I was like, we have to. You were like, we have to record. I was like.
But it was like nagging me. Like, it was like, nah, you need to record. And I was like, but if we didn't, though, it's understandable. Like, it's all right. But it was nagging, and I was like, we need to record.
Mm-hmm. We need to record. We missed those sirens.
Oh, my gosh.
The nice sirens of Boston.
There were sirens in Chicago.
Just one.
Because we were like, of course.
Of course.
But it was super cute. We stayed in Little Italy.
Mm-hmm. Be cute.
Just, my sister's very type A. I think Paula might have met her match.
I don't think I'm that bad. I'm actually not. I'm very chill. Compared.
You know what? I might be A minus. Jerica's A++.
Oh, for sure.
Because we had reservation after reservation after getting into an Uber and I was like, yo, I need a day. I
realize my type A, if it is that, I don't know all the types, but if it is type A, it's more just like, if we're out, let's just be out.
I'm type C for sure.
Like, I don't want to do the go back, come back, go back. Like, that to me is like, no,
it's
we're
too
out.
Much. We're already out. I think that's why I was so tired, because it was like, my brain was trying to catch up with the fact that I was already out, and now I'm inside. And now I have to get ready to go out again.
And then Captain Clean making sure everybody... Because there was no way we were going to be able to come home and then just like change and go with Captain Clean there. I'm sorry.
No, Captain Clean said, go wash your ass.
You didn't shower?
You're not going to take another shower? Yo,
you didn't brush your teeth?
We were only gone for an hour. Like, what do you mean, fam?
It's...
Like, I don't have swamp. Like, what are we saying?
It was just...
Jeepers. I can just change my outfit. Everything's fine. And we sure did took 8 showers a day.
We did.
Because of the judgment that would have fallen on us if we did not.
It was necessary.
Are you going to brush your teeth? What? Bro, I brushed them 3 times.
I don't even know if my dentist brushes her teeth the way... But I love it. Listen... Somebody got to keep the people accountable. If you go
up to her and you tell her that she smells, she will literally have an out-of-body experience. You would watch her disintegrate.
I believe that.
Even if it just joking with her, ooh, did you floss today?
What is that smell?
She would be like, wait, stop. No, for real?
You gotta waft it.
And for the remainder of the day, it'll be, did I really stink? Do I really smell? Like,
That's my mom.
It will, like, because it's also one of those things that, like, once you smell once, you really can't just, like, get it.
That's what she thinks, but that's not true.
There is redemption.
There is redemption.
You can be redeemed.
It's like, there are people. What if you just count them on a bad day? Because there are some people I just go like, ooh, but I like you. Like, as a person, I like you.
Ooh. No, literally. So I'm like, hey.
So let's see. Like, is it an always
and some people sweat a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
So you just might have to have that antiperspirant ready to go.
Yeah. Or maybe they're from a different culture and their food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's
a thing.
That's a thing. And so for them, they may not. And so, like, there are lines. But I think Jerica's like, those are not my lines.
Jerica's like, yeah, no, absolutely not.
Those are not my lines. So my mom is like that. My mom will literally come out of the shower, fresh out the shower, and she'll just be like, "Do I smell?" And I'm like the water. I'm so confused.
I can still see it on your skin.
I'm confused.
As a matter of fact, there's suds on your shoulder.
Legit.
You didn't get that.
You
part.
didn't get it. That maybe I don't understand. And it blows me. So I think I'm a little triggered too. When somebody goes like, "Do I smell?" and I've already said, "No, you don't smell," and you come back to me and you tell me,
No, she's gonna ask you for the rest of the day, and then it's gonna be
so that I couldn't do that joke.
no. I
already said yes.
I've already said you don't.
If I already said yes, if I play the joke and I'm like, "No, yeah, you do," and you come
and
back
then
to me.
and then my sister, like. Sometimes I be thinking I could maybe be an extrovert, and then I go out with my sister, and I'm like, yeah.
I was telling Shanice about
not
this.
be me.
Me and Shanice talk. She goes, "How was the thing?" And I was like, "Yo, like."
Jerk, don't shut the hell up.
No, I was like, you know what? Nina be saying that she's an introvert, and I just don't believe it. And then I was like, no, I'm not your public.
It finally all clicked. Yeah.
I was like, no, I believe that. I believe it now. Because I was just like, oh, they have two totally different personalities.
Completely different.
Energizer Bunny.
Sloth.
If I could take a nap as a person.
Tortoise and the hare. 1,000%.
And it's so funny because I was just like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
When she said she was an introvert.
I meant that
This
with my
is
whole
okay.
chest.
Okay. That makes sense.
I guess sometimes I could be an ambivert depending on the setting.
That's true. That is true.
But like,
I think in my mind, certain situations make sense. Like when we're at church and it's like overstimmy, that to me makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like how an introvert can like naturally become more introverted. Like, I kid you not, Nina will talk to like 5 people, and then if Nina finds a corner, she'll be in
where's corner. Nina? Find all the corners in the building.
On her phone, leaning against a pillar somewhere or a wall.
I ain't doing nothing on my phone. Ain't nothing important taking place on my phone.
Every time.
Nothing
but like
important.
To me that makes sense though. Like to me it's like
I need to retreat. It's too much.
Overstimulating.
And then it's like at church because you only see each other once a week. You just be hyped to see each other all the time, and I'm like, I don't know that I have the energy to give you. I worship got it all. Actually,
I literally gave it.
Yeah, I gave it. You're worthy of it all, and was
and
is
forevermore,
forever and ever.
Everlasting and always.
Take it. So by the time it gets to after service, I dip. Like, if it's not you being like, where are you sitting? And then I'm like, oh, I got to stop to say hi to Paula. I run up out of that place. Because I'm like, nah, I got to go.
Yeah. I literally was trying to... I was like, Nina, my grandmother wants to meet you. Nina, my grandmother.
And I'm like, huh? Literally in a corner waiting.
But like, to me, it was like, oh, okay, now I see it because like your sister does have like a ton of energy. So I can understand now what it is. But it's so funny because like, sweetheart.
Yeah, no, sweetheart. Like, actually, the trip as a whole, you never know what you're gonna get when you put a bunch of strangers in a room, especially 5 women. But like, this was like the first trip that I went on, and it's like 5 highly intelligent, emotionally intelligent women that just like knew how to work around each other, and there was no like anything. Yeah. It was actually fun for Paula and I because we were just like,
I think we were probably the most chill.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm in the living room like watching TV. You guys, what are you watching? The Resident.
Literally, I got so hooked, but then I also can't do blood, and there's like a lot of like just surgeries always happening, and I was like, oh my god,
is this really what the ER is like?
I can't watch this still sitting there.
Yeah, still sitting there like. Oh my god, no. Meanwhile, I'm like full blown meal.
Literally.
Like watching them just dissect people. I'm like,
literally. It was a good trip.
It was a great trip. It was a really good time. I got to see one of my friends that I hadn't seen in a couple years. I got to meet one of my TikTok friends, which was super.
You got recognized
in Chinatown in Chicago. I was like, crazy. What?
And I wasn't even there for that. I was so mad. I came back and then everybody was like, I was like, oh, I missed you.
Meanwhile, I'm still red, like flushed, because I'm like, I sounded like an idiot. Like, and then I was like, I really hope that this girl like reaches out to me so I can just say I'm sorry for sounding dumb. And then she did reach out to me on TikTok, and I was like, oh my god, girl, I'm so sorry for being awkward. It was just very odd, like, for me. She's like, girl, you're popping. Why would you think you wouldn't get recognized? I was like, thanks, queen.
And then she got recognized when we went out to dinner, and I still wasn't there for that. I was so mad. Nah, this is a joke. Y'all are playing jokes on me.
Right, I'm like,
what's going on?
And mind you, and Jerica's like, you're like famous, and I'm like, I promise you,
I call you my TikTok
my
famous
bank
friend.
account don't feel like it. I won't feel it until my bank account feels it.
It's coming.
Endorsements, receive it.
It's coming.
But yeah, all in all, it was like a really good trip.
Yeah.
It was our second trip together, but like first trip as like friends. Because the first one, we still haven't even talked.
Oh my god.
We still haven't even done an episode about like the nitty gritty of like how we met. That's still mad funny.
Because
It was just a time.
that was a time. And even then, back then, I will say I wasn't as bad. Because, like, I feel like, we don't gotta get into it. But,
It's
like,
alright.
there were some things that happened during that trip that I, personally, I'm like, ooh.
That's how we became friends. Because we just looked at each other from across the room.
It started outside.
You picking up what I put down?
It started outside, waiting. We were waiting for an Uber somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah. That's another episode. We'll probably dive into that. Because you know what? God bless that girl. I really, truly and sincerely.
Vaya con Dios. Everything's fine. Anyways, so today's topic is going to be about mothers and daughters.
You want to talk about
Mothers. Okay.
Be for real.
Honestly, the title's gonna be Life Before Christ, Yo Mama.
I think you're gonna. You want to.
You want to talk about mother? That too. Send me one of those.
Good one.
Your mama so ...
Love that already.
Right. But I don't even. I think I was talking to you and I was like, "Yo, my mom's on one," and you were like, "Girl, you're the second person to tell me their mom was on one." So she's like, "At some point, we gotta talk about mothers." And there's like a lot of, and like I said in the prayer leading into the episode, you know, the enemy's gonna attack the head of the house, and the reality of the situation is there's a lot of single mothers, a lot of unhealed single moms that are raising daughters, and you know, passed on that trauma and the generational curses onto their daughters. And you know, you have, the reality is that mothers are jealous of their daughters, especially when they get to live the life that their mother might have wanted. And there's a lot of spiritual attacks that happen when you recognize, okay, mom, I appreciate you for how, like, you know, putting me through this and you know, doing all these things. But then what do you do when you're now on your walk with Christ and this very person is trying you? Especially like in my case, you know, my mom raised me with the fear of God, and it's like, how are you constantly trying me? But you raised me to fear. This doesn't. Who are you praying to? And I was making that joke for years before, but now that like I'm in my walk, I'm like, nah, for real, who are you praying to? Who do you talk to every day? Because it cannot be the same person I'm talking. It literally cannot be the same God that I'm talking to. Because I know how I feel and how my day goes after being in the secret place. There's no way you've been in the secret place and that's how you're reacting. Because if I'm not in the secret place, then I'm going to react. When I am in the secret place, I'm a little slower to react.
Yeah. And it begs the question of, are you getting convictions and speeding past them? Because to your point, right, if you're spending that much time with God in the secret place, the level of convictions you get, like I know you know, and I know how it feels to get convicted. It feels like a smack upside the head, especially now that we are in walks. Because don't get me wrong, like, I think beforehand, I think we always get convictions. I just think sometimes we just don't hear them or we breeze past them, especially before Christ.
Yeah.
But now that we are a little bit more attuned, you hear the convictions more and you hear how soft they are, or sometimes how much they like get you.
Bro.
So if you are like reacting in an angry way and mad and all this other stuff, but you're telling me you spend that much time, what are your convictions feeling like?
Because I don't even know what scripture it is, and it's so funny because that one TikTok that's like, I'm gonna give you scripture. I just don't know where it's from. Like, I just don't know.
I know it's there. I know it's about.
You'll know them by the fruits that they bear. And right now it's giving you're not bearing any fruits. Any of the fruits are bearing. And I don't like that for you. And I think that we need to work on that because, again, I don't like that. I don't like that for you. I don't like that for me. I think that it's interesting, but also interestingly enough, we had, like, my sisters and I actually had a family meeting, minus my mother, because we had to basically summon the eldest daughter to be like, yo sis, as the second in command, we're gonna let you lead, we're gonna be the pawns, we're gonna be your backup dancers, you and Gladys, we're gonna be the pips. You know what I'm saying? This is your show. We need you to tell your mother these things. So she was like, no, I understand, and she shared her experience, stuff like that. And I let her know I was fortunate enough that the Holy Spirit deemed me worthy to be able to minister to my mom, use me to minister to my mom earlier this week. And I know it was Holy Spirit because I was like, where is all of this coming from? I just wanted to toast my bagel and be on my merry little way. I don't know what's going on. But so my older sister ended up like disclosing to us that, when you guys were younger, and there was a night that you guys weren't home, and we probably at practice or something. And she was like, I started to pray over mom and she started throwing up. I said, I beg your finest pardon. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, what was she throwing up? And she was like, she's like, what is the term for it? I was like, stomach bile? And she was like, yes. And I was like, was she being delivered? And she's like, I think she was, but then it stopped. Like we had to stop completely and we never talked about it again. And I was like, is it Matthew? You try to cast out some demons and you clean house and they're gonna be like, huh.
Mm-hmm. They come back.
This is nice. 7 more. Ready to go.
This is nice.
Isn't it? This is nice. This all you. And it made me think of that, and I was just like, so you, and then I had a different level of respect for my older sister, because I'm like, damn, you really have been dealing with this far longer than we have. Mm-hmm. But now there's 3 of us. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
But you see how, like, that's interesting too, because your sister was the first one to say something, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe in a place of anger or frustration or whatever, right? In an emotional state.
Yeah.
Then you come and you actually minister in a way that's giving it a little bit more grace. Mm-hmm. That's 2 times the Lord has now knocked. Mm-hmm. Right? You know what I mean? Like, to your mom. And so when people say things like, he didn't give me no sign and all this other stuff, like, baby, I don't know what sign you think you need.
This is what they're looking for. This is literally what they're looking for.
Because, like, if your brother was looking for a sign to see, like, is he saying this? She got 2 signs, right, already. And now if your older sister goes, that's 3. Mm-hmm. So I feel like in this particular case, like, I feel like, mom aside, I think whether you are the daughter or the mom, the sister, the aunt, whatever it is, there's these moments where you kind of have to, like, if your heart is so hardened, mm-hmm. at least look into the physical. There's 2 people in a close space of time mm-hmm. have come and told you about yourself. And if your first response is to be defensive, does that not say more about where you're at?
Quite literally what I said to my mom. Jerica called out, pride and all of these things, and my mom immediately wanted to like retaliate, and now it became a tit for tat. Mm-hmm. And it was bringing Jerica out of character. And this is 6:30 in the morning. I'm like,
it's not even a reasonable time,
right? And then the Dash conference is that week. Mm-hmm. So this happens like Tuesday morning. The conference starts Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Completely threw Jerica off her A game, and she was like, yeah, I don't want to go. And I was like, no, but you like actually need this.
Yeah. Like,
you
excited to go.
You know what I mean? Like, you actually need this, especially this week. And like, it took a lot of convincing. And
I texted.
Right. And she was like, did you text from Paula's phone? I said, girl, why would I take Paula's phone to text you when I could just text you? What? But I think a side quest to that is like, it's so important to, have godly friends. Like, mm-hmm. there are so many people that unfortunately still spew this farce of a thought to be like, you can be in Christ and still have your worldly friends, but it's like, your worldly friends are not gonna be like, hey, get them to church, right? And Paula has two friends. Shout out to Diana and Toby. That were like, nah, we're gonna pray for your sister. She's gonna be in the house on Friday in Jesus' name. Like, we're gonna keep her in our prayers, stuff like that. Like, mind you, that's like, I've been around them and like I know of them, but that was like my first like initial like actual like conversation with these women, and for them to like be so reassuring and affirming and being like, nah, this is what's gonna happen and we're gonna claim it in Jesus' name. Like, two strangers, right? They like know me because of Paula, right? Proximity, and like they listen to the show and stuff like that. But to be able to put my own guard down enough to be like, yeah, like I've been struggling to get my sister here. And granted, I was talking to Paula and they were right there. But like, but I love that they interject. Yeah, like I love that they didn't, you know what I mean? Like I love that they didn't stop to be like, oh, this isn't. But they just jumped in, and you know, by the grace of God, my sister did get there on Friday, and then we were able to go out to dinner after service, and Toby came with us, and we got to like just commune, and it was a really good time, and you know, I think that if you get nothing from this episode, having a Christian community truly is important. Because when I wasn't even thinking about community rallied around me to pray for my sister, someone that they hadn't even met yet. And she made it to church on Friday, which I think is so beautiful. And that's like something that the Lord had to like reveal to me. Like you were so stuck in this thing that you didn't even see what I was doing in the moment. And when I was able to take a step back, I was like just super thankful that like, you know, we're even in this mess because of the fact that my mother got her so out of character. Yeah. And it was just like, dang, bro. I was like, she ain't got me out of character in a long time. I don't remember what that, like, I for right now, I couldn't remember what it felt like. So I was like, I have just already set those boundaries. And I'm like, I don't actually really truly think that they're even boundaries. I just don't talk. Like, I'm just,
you got it.
What up? And I just walk away.
Flee.
Right? But that's avoidance. That's an avoidant attachment style that I have.
Yes. And there's a difference though. And this is why discerning is such an important thing to keep asking God for, because yes, there's avoidant when God tells you no, you actually need to address something, which is you had to address something with your mother head on that you wouldn't have chosen to do because it wasn't even your thing to have conversation about. But then there's to flee from situations that you will not be able to resist. And I think this is a topic that I definitely want to talk about in another episode, but that fleeing from sin part, like I think we have this like idea of fleeing mean we have to like run away from certain things, when sometimes it's just like, I know I can't handle having a conversation with you if we're both like this. Yeah. If we're both angry, or you say one thing that's gonna make me like snap, or it's gonna get me out of character, I don't even want to be part of this anymore. That's fleeing. That's okay. Right? Like a therapist might tell you like, no, you need to address it, but certain things don't need to be addressed. If you know if a person is, if I know that a person who is an alcoholic gets angry after they've had 6 beers, I'm not about to go after they've had 6 beers and go be like, I think we should have a conversation because what you said really pissed me off. Yeah. No, I know what comes after that. I'm avoiding the situation by removing myself. Not because I don't want to talk about the issue. We could talk about the issue, but if I know you're coming at me in a certain place,
we're just not gonna do it.
Wait, I'm fleeing from this. Right. I know what it's gonna do for me.
Yeah, and I think that like there's just like this level of like when you want your parents to understand and see you as more than just a child. Like you pick, like parents pick and choose when they want to view you as an adult, and when rent is due, you an adult, baby. Run that. But when I want to talk to you about my feelings, now I'm a child. That's
not your business.
You know what I mean? Like it's just not. It's not. I don't like that they can't coexist. I can't be an adult and still be your child, and there are boundaries that are being set. Like even in that situation with Jerica and my mom, it's just like I was like, Ma, you can't operate from that space. You can't. If she's trying to tell you about a boundary, you need to trust that she's done the inner work, and that is something that was highlighted in the work that she did. And unfortunately, you played a role in that. The reason why, we have manipulative tendencies is because we learned it from you. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm not only talking about Jerica, I'm talking about myself too. Like, I have manipulative tendencies, and I actively choose day in and day out not to operate from that space. I was like, because when I want something done, I will manipulate the situation to get it done, and it's not okay. I know that because I've done it, and once I was able to recognize that, I'm like, oof, we don't want to operate like that. And where else would I have learned that from? My impulses that I have
Our learned behaviors
are all there. I didn't just learn them in the last 5 years. And my sister said to mom, she said, "Mom, I didn't learn these things in the last 5 years. My impulses, manipulative ways, all of these things." She's like, I learned them through time, and I saw them from you. So, but it like, I'm also like, yo, Rika, respectfully, mom was not trying to hear that at 6:30 in the morning.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
not at all.
Place and time. Like, you're cooking your breakfast, you making eggs, the skillet is hot. What are we doing? Before impulses take up to get the best of us, right?
Yeah.
There's just so many moving parts, and I actually had made a TikTok video, but like talking about like the situation, and there were so many people that were like, "You ministered to your mom, but you're also ministering to me too. Like, thank you for being obedient." And it made me realize, like, oh my God, like, I know that I'm not the only person in the world that deals with this. But I didn't realize to what magnitude. Like, there are so many people that are trying to get their moms to see that they are adults and that there is a way that they want to be spoken to try to break that generational curse. And they're like, it just feels like all hope is lost. And I'm just like, oh my God, there's an entire generation of us that just want. And then it's like, especially when it's your only parent, like the thought of having to grieve the mother you wanted, and you're grieving someone who's still alive, it'll be, I almost want to say it's easier. Don't get mad at me for saying that. Because then it's like, okay, now I really have to grieve this thing that's just never going to happen. It is difficult when the person is still alive and well and healthy and is actively choosing not to meet you where you want to be met. Yeah. And then you throw in, but that's your mama, you got to forgive her because God.
Well,
because Christ.
Well, that, and I think, coming from the lens, this is something I still have to like work on, and things that I mention to a couple of people too, that there's a lot of like, we're selfish by nature, and so selfishly we have to be conscious of it, and we're not always conscious of it, which is annoying. But there's this thing where it's like, I want you to be able to understand me, but how much are we understanding them? And I think a lot of the times we'll say, no, I try. But if it's always coming from a place of like, I'm only trying to understand you so that you can understand me, then you know what I mean? Like, it's not from a selfless place. And it's hard because it's not just to forgive just because God tells us to, because yes, that's pretty much the mandate, and so we know that. Mandate. Yeah. But it's also, it's from a place of like acceptance. Yeah. Of like, we were talking before, and it was, I'm trying to remember everything, from, when Pastor Fanika Friend, like, who was a phenomenal pastor. If I'm ever, and I don't even like Atlanta, so the fact that I'm even saying this, I'd find her in church and I'd be like, yes, ma'am, I'd go to your church. But she was basically kind of saying how both of her parents basically just abandoned her. So she was already dealing with abandonment issues. Her father was an alcoholic, and he had essayed her pretty much, like, for a very big period of her childhood. And she learned to forgive him, and even had him at the wedding, and she gave him one contingency. He had to be sober for one day in order to be in the wedding. If she caught a whiff of anything, he was out. And he was able to do it. And this is not a man who would just, like, I guess based off of the way that she was explaining it. Mind you, I was also in the booth upstairs directing, so I was in the spirit in a different way, like doing, making sure people online could watch. But anything that I could hear, I was like eating. Like, it was like bread for me. And hearing that story, because I'm thankful that I've never had to go through that. So to hear that, immediately I'm like, ain't no way. Ain't no.
As you were telling me, I said,
cause like,
could it be me?
But I've had my own issues, like with my dad. Yeah. Granted, never like that, thank God, right? Never like any of that. But just more like forgiving. Yeah. over things of just like, you just weren't there when I needed you to be there. You didn't listen to a certain thing that I wanted you to listen to or whatever.
Yeah.
But she could do that. Like that, I know that's the grace of God. And because and her forgiving him had nothing to do with him. It had to do with it freeing and unlocking a part of herself that she had locked off. Yeah. And so that's why I think with the conversation of like, yes, it's a mandate from God, and so yeah, we have to forgive others if we want to be forgiven. But I think there's like a little part of it that like frees us, because it kind of just says, I accept that like this is all that you are willing to be right now. I pray that you would be willing to be more. Yeah. But if that never happens, it's that same concept. Like if the Lord never blesses me another day, I'll still be happy. Yeah. Will you still be able to accept that person? Because if you never change, you would still want the Lord to accept you. Yeah. Granted, you know what I mean? That's a little bit of a wonky principle, but
yeah. I think that in that regard, right? Because my mom is like, oh, I have my relationship. I'm like, okay, cool, lit. So bet I have mine too. So we're gonna talk about this. But it's also like, even in my conversation with my mom, I was like, Mom, we do acknowledge that, you weren't raised with an emotionally intelligent parent. Like your dad was an alcoholic and he wasn't the best to grandma, and, whatever, what have you. And then all of your siblings have different points of views and different experiences with y'all's parents. And there was 12 of you and you're like number 7, so it's like there's a lot of moving parts, right? That my sisters and I understand. Like we get that grandma ruled you with an iron fist, 2 iron fists, because it was what she was not gonna do was have her kids be running these streets and doing whatever. And by the grace of God, we have our problems. However, everybody's alive and well, and if they've passed, it's for whatever reason. But, I was like, Mom, like, we acknowledge that you raised us better. We give you the credit where you didn't rule us with iron fists. However, that's our story. My older brother and older sister cannot say that. So there's a lot of broken pieces, right? Like my older sister and my older brother watched our mom be gentler with us. So there's resentment there, right? Like we got to do, my mom never missed a softball game, never missed a basketball game, never missed a parent teacher conference, dropped me off on my first day of college, like was more involved. And I can't imagine having to see that and be like, so you were capable? Like we like to make the jokes when it's like the grandma or the grandpa, like, oh, so you do have McDonald's money? We love that joke, right? But what about when it's still within the same...
That's a statistic, though. They say that no 2 children, granted, you and your sister are different, but for the most part, no children will typically get the same version of their parent, depending.
Right. Well, and then there's 15-year age gap between my older sister. There's a 9-year age gap between my older brother, and then you have my sister and I, who are twins. And even with being twins, we were still treated vastly different, right? And I actually, when my sisters and I had dinner, earlier in the week, Jess was the one that was like, yeah, I always used to call out mommy for how she used to treat you, because she always treated you different from Jerica. And I was like, and I literally was like, oh my God, I was never making this up. I thought I was crazy. Yeah. Like I thought I was nuts, because 2 weeks ago, Jerica had asked my mom the very thing. She was like, why do you treat Nina the way that you treat her? Like, what is it about Nina that causes your spirit so much disruption that you talk to her and treat her the way that you treat her? And I must have like just suppressed it for so long that it didn't even I don't even acknowledge it anymore. Yeah. So I've heard it from Jerica, from my twin sister, but when I heard it from my older sister, that she noticed it at a young age when I wasn't even aware of what was happening, and she was already like my protector, I was like, the devil been trying to get me, and he's been using my mom to get to me. And now I'm ministering to the very person who like.
But that's the forgiveness train. I love it.
You know what I mean? Like we're on the forgiveness train, but it's just like, I'm not saying I handle it well. I just have a lot of feelings for the women that haven't gotten there yet. Like I feel for them because I'm just like, I don't know what it's like to not have a village. Like, because there are people that are going through that very thing and their siblings are like, mom was never like that and mom didn't this. I don't know what that's like. I'm so grateful that me and my sisters are, though vastly different, we are very emotionally and highly intelligent and we're not like, we don't live in that delusion of like, we have this version of our parents. Like, we are all on the same accord in this, which is why I think there's so much of a battle that's happening because the enemy now sees,
they're banding together. They're about to start praying.
They're coming together.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're getting to the final stage, like Bowser's at the final stage, and it's Voldemort. We're going up against them.
He who must not be named, but except for they will be named.
Right? And it's just like, dang, like I feel for those of you listening or watching that might not be your story.
I feel like, so I can't say it from just like the daughter point of view, but I know that my brother and me grew up with two different versions of my mom, mainly being that my brother was my protector in a sense. And so it's funny because my brother probably got the brunt of like angry mom who probably learned it from her own family, you know? And I think my mom did what she had to do as a single mom, raising two kids, being hearing impaired. And, you know, I don't know. I've always been the type of person to be like, I don't always like the way that certain people in the family talk to my mom. I don't think they notice it, which is even more problematic. And I'm very protective of family and friends, but very protective of my mama. I don't care how annoyed I get with my mama.
That's my mama.
That's my mama.
Right.
You're not about to talk to my mama any type of way. Period. Especially if she can't hear you. Huh? I did. Who are you talking to?
Run that back.
Who are you? I don't like it. So, and I think me and my brother are both that way when it comes to Mama T.
Yeah.
I don't care what she did to me. I don't care what she did to you. You is not about to talk to my mother any type of way. But I think with my brother, him growing up, it was very much like butting of heads. And I think me and my brother have my mom likes to jokingly say, like, to people, like, my daughter got a mouth on her. Like, we just don't get her started. And I think the same thing. Me and my brother are very honest. So if we think something's dumb, I don't think that's smart. I'm going to tell you. He might be more like, that's dumb, that's stupid. I'm more like, I don't think that's the best.
Yeah.
But we going to tell you. And I think having two kids, being super candid, my brother more rougher, I think. He's calmed down more now in his older age, but like his older age. He's 7 years older than me. But
sup, bro?
But I think in his past, right, like much rougher. Like I remember having vivid conversations and him being like, "You're depressed," to my mother. "You're depressed. You're depressed. You need to go to the doctors right now." You can't tell somebody like that. Yeah, like I'm like, hey, the girl's already sad. How you gonna make her voice sad? But in the time period, I was just like, and is like you need to go
check that.
Yeah. But now I'm sitting here and I'm going like, but she needed to hear that. You know what I mean? And all that being said, I can't say I know for a fact that my mom treated me differently, but I know she treated me differently because my brother had to be the one to be like, because he told me, my mom goes like, Jamal told me that I couldn't treat you the same way that I treated him, and that I had to be different with you. And when you hear that from your mom about your older brother because he had to go through something that I didn't have to go through, and I went through a different thing. Like my mom was like lock and key, like warden wouldn't let me. I had to sneak out to the movies. I didn't sneak out to parties. I snuck out to the movies. Like,
well, things happen in movies. So
I mean, well, like, but like, yes, true, but like nerd, like very much like I wanted to go see Twilight. Like, I wasn't doing anything crazy, but I get what you're saying. Like, why do parents do what they do? Like, what is it? Like, there needs to be a study on it.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you see? Because I think for some people it's a lot easier. Like, oh, do you see somebody's dad? Do you see some, like, what is it specifically about this child?
Which is crazy because, like, that's funny that you say that. The specific memory that my oldest sister was talking about, she's like, yes, she used to always call you names. Like, she would call you a liar. She would say that you were just like your father. And I was like, I must have suppressed that because now that you're saying it, I can hear it. And I remember where I was standing. Like, it was literally like the memories were coming back. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I started laughing because I was like, that's so funny because she spent my whole childhood telling me that I was a liar. But now in my adulthood, she tells people, oh, my Nina's honest to a fault. So which one is it?
You were probably always honest, but a little bit too honest.
She didn't want to hear it, right? And she's like, how's this little 6-year-old telling me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I was just observant, right? Mm-hmm. And I almost like, and then it always makes you wonder, like, if your mother would have been the one to want to break the curses, how would you have turned out?
Oh, I think
right?
about that.
I think about that often. Like, if you were the one that took the stand,
you did this. Would I have?
Would
I be on this podcast right now?
I'd be talking about this? Probably not, right? And there's a reason for everything, right?
Yeah.
The Lord allows things to happen the way that they happen. The biggest thing that I will say in terms of my mom, like, I am thankful that though she raised 4 children, single parent, I never saw, our house wasn't a revolving door for men. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was not, if my mom dated, I can count on one hand how many men that I dated, and if we did not like that man, he was not welcome back into our house. Mm-hmm. And like, shout out to my mom, but there was one guy that she dated that put his hands on me, and I went to my mom and I told her what happened, and she was like, let that be the last time. And that was the last time we saw that man. Mm-hmm. There was a guy that made Jerica her breakfast the wrong way, and Jerica was upset, and she was like, nah.
So she's been like this.
Yo, my mom put on my oatmeal, and my mom, listen, I understand, I've said this multiple times, I understand that I was kind of spoiled growing up. If my sister wanted scrambled eggs and sausage and I wanted oatmeal, I was gonna get my oatmeal and my sister was gonna get her eggs and sausage. My mom was not you get what you get and you don't complain. That wasn't my mom.
That was my
so I can't relate.
It's okay.
The only time it was it was only dinner time that it was, hey, I made dinner, if you don't want this, there's cereal. Like, she's like, I'm not fighting with you. Mm-hmm. But in the morning we was gonna get what we were gonna get, exactly what we wanted. So this was the one time she had a man friend sleep over, and my mom was going to take a shower, and I'll never forget his name was Nelson, and he was a nutritionist.
Oh, so he tried to give y'all some healthy.
You understand?
Like, we didn't ask for that.
We didn't even eat unhealthy, like, as kids. It was rare when we got, like, McDonald's or anything like that.
Yeah, but give me the GMO cereal, please.
Run it.
Give me the apple juice.
I don't want a third less sugar. Run it.
Where did you bring this in from?
Run my Reese's Puffs.
Where did you bring this in from? Did you sneak this into this house?
No, so he had no beef with the oatmeal because it was oatmeal. Mm-hmm. So I had my oatmeal. I was good. Jerica wanted eggs and sausage. That's what she's had in the morning. Jerica was also a very picky eater back then. Like, she ate the same thing.
You need to make sure she eats.
Yeah. Right. So my mom was like, oh, do you mind? Like, I already made the oatmeal. Can you just mind serving? But for her, she needs, like, it's a fresh one. Like, you got to cook it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no problem. So he makes the sausage, whatever, lets it cook, and then he makes her the eggs. He makes her sunny side up. But what was that?
For a child?
This is a core memory. Yes, core memory. I'm sitting there on the table. I'm eating that up. And he puts down, this is a total side quest, but he puts down the egg sunny side up and some sausage. And Jerica looks at her plate and she said, I want it scrambled. This man looked this girl dead in her face, grabbed the fork, didn't break eye contact, and scrambled it on her plate. Jerica started crying immediately. She said, I don't want it. And got up. And my mom's like, why is my kid crying? And Jerica calmly went to the room and told mommy what he did. And mommy said, you're dismissed. Okay. You can go. That was the last time we ever saw that man.
I don't know that man.
To be honest, I don't know who that man is. You look ridiculous, honestly. But those are like aspects of like my mom that like, you know, she was very firm in. Like she didn't. Once it came to us, like she wasn't. She was never that out and about. If she went out, it was rare. Now I'm like, please go out.
Same.
That, and you know, she did express to us that when she was younger, she had been essayed by one of her uncles. That's when she like got introduced to like foreplay, at a super young age. I think she was like 7. But she didn't keep that a secret. Like she was like, hey, this happened to me. This is why I am the way I am with y'all. And we understand that, and I get that. So there's a lot of aspects of the way that my mom did raise me that I'm like super thankful for. But it shouldn't have only stopped there. Like the work has to continue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like you once you get saved, always saved. No, you
True.
have to continue working at it.
Yeah. But I think that's like the cool. That's like the dope part though. Like that's what it is about the generations though. Like each generation is supposed to help the other, the next, you know, not only like the future generation but the generation behind, right? Behind them. And I think that like to your point, like there are many things that we could all change, right? Like our parents for sure, right?
Yeah.
We got a front row seat to seeing like
the nonsense,
you know.
Facts.
But then there are certain things where just like, okay, but I could also see the growth. But isn't it a blessing, right? Because I think you had mentioned this. You were like, your family is living in a blessing right now that has been prayed over.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're now at a time, such a time as this, that there's 3 of you who believe in God, who are trying to improve their prayer lives, who are living and walking and breathing in it. And your mom may not even know that she's drowning a little bit. And now has 3 safeties that are now, irritated or annoyed or mad about certain things and are working through forgiveness, but are still, like, you all had a family meeting to talk about this. And I'm sure it probably started up being like, mom did this, mom did that. But at the end of the day, it still came down to, we need you to talk to mom because we need a change. And that's the most important part, right? Yeah. Like, whatever she's going through, whether she realizes it or recognizes it or doesn't know what the words, whatever it is, like, it's going to break. Because I think that there's a level of, to what we were talking about earlier, there's generational curses. And, you know, one of my friends, and I won't get into the gist of it now, all the details, but let's just say that, like, she didn't understand generational curses in terms of, like, what has been plaguing your family. Don't just look at, like, you and your mom. What has been plaguing your family over 3, 4, 5 generations. And when she figured it out and said it out loud, I was like, and that's why you are getting bullied in your family right now for all the things that are happening, because you are a soundboard. And when you're a soundboard in your family, or sorry, not a soundboard, but like a more of like the whistleblower in your family, everybody always talks down on you. Yeah. Everybody's always just like, oh, this person, they always start in this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Especially if there's a secret. If there's a secret involved and they know you might be the one to say something, they always mad at you. They always got it. There's always, like, your name is always in it. Oh, because this person thinks this. Now you're arrogant. That's me. Literally. Now you're arrogant. Now you're this. Or you're... You would say that. Well, you out here living in the dark. And now there's a light coming to you and you don't like that because you want to scatter like a roach. Too bad.
We gonna expose it. Turn the lights on.
Turn all the lights. Like, but like, all that being said, like, there's generational curses come in different forms, and I think that it is important, especially because we are women, to look at what have the women been. I think for men, I think you should look at what have the men been through in your lives and trying to figure out that and pray to God to ask Him to reveal it to you. Because what I've noticed in all the women in my life, I'm like, none of you all have been married. Or if you have been married, it has not lasted. Or, and I'm like, oh no, we breaking that. We breaking that. That's not my life.
Yeah.
Or like, there are other things, but it's those types of things of, like, you have to recognize what it is. Yeah. Call it out, say it, pray over it.
Yeah. I had to call it out recently with my mom, and she looked at me like I insulted our ancestors, and I said, I bet I did. I bet I did, and I hope I did.
Yeah.
To be honest, because I'm like, to your point of like,
you let this go.
You let it rock on, right? To your point of like, what is it in the women, and I'm like, the women in my family have endured way too much abuse at the hands of a man.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I looked at my mom and I said, and your brothers were the hands of men
Mm-hmm.
that were abusive.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of the situation is that you and your sisters allowed it to happen because you let them come and crash on their couch when they girls, they wives, they whoever kicked them out. Y'all should have called the cops. And my mom looked at me and she was like, what? Girl, you want to go down the list? Babes, hey, y'all talk too much and I love to listen. We'll go down the list. Right? And it's like, and I'm sure that my cousins probably don't like the fact that I know these things and I shed light on these things and I talk about these things because it's like it has to be exposed.
Like, what don't y'all get? It needs to be
the addiction, the abuse,
yes,
the lust. It has to be exposed. Whether you like it or not, these things have a stronghold over our family. And there was an episode where I literally talked about how the Lord had me like in my office at work at noon crying, and he said, pray for everyone individually, call your family out by name. Everybody, my cousins, their kids, my aunts, my uncles, their wives, like everybody that was connected to my family. The Lord was like, you need to pray for every single one of them individually. And I was in my office sobbing, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I am so thankful that me and my sisters are now on one accord because I couldn't have taken this on by myself, right? And my sisters have said, like, you were the fire starter. Like, it was you. Like, you went and did it. Granted, my older sister had her own relationship with God. She tried here and there, but I was a resistant teenager. I was like, I don't want to do that. That sounds whack. And now that I'm an adult, like, and pushing through, that we're like, okay, and now we get to all fall in line. And it's just like, dang, I want that for people so bad.
Yes.
Like having that and seeing that and recognizing that, I want more people, more women to like be able to band together to break those curses. And women ask me all the time in the comments are like, oh, what would you suggest? I am not a licensed therapist. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist. I am not any of those things. I take the information that I have received, the information that I learned, and the information that the Lord gives me in scripture, and I'm like, okay, how do we, and my lived experience, and like, how do we push that forward? But I can't sit here and tell you how to have a better relationship, but I can tell you that you might need to check your tone when you want to present something, because I have to check my tone often before I present it. Yeah. And that was the only way that I could get my mom to hear me. And my thing is like, yeah, you're gonna sound like a broken record. Yeah. This has been from the age of like 15. I'm 32. We have been having these conversations with my mom for 17 years. Some of y'all keep running back to that man and you keep telling him to stop hurting you, and you still running back. But when it comes to your mom, we gotta have that same energy. Like, if you want the relationship, if you can sit there and say, I can love her from a distance, and then you gonna have to ask the Lord to work on your heart. I was gonna say that. I was like, that's you. The Lord gonna have to deal with you about that.
Yeah. Because that's the hard part. It's like, we gotta sometimes separate how we feel from what the word says, but also what we're being called to do. Yeah. And this means being so in tune with like hearing God. So like there are so many different steps that like who knows, because some people are blessed to be able to just hear God at any point, like at any step in their lives. They could be out here in the trenches.
I told you, I was like, I was crying out to God last night. I didn't hear him. He sure did come and grip me up in my sleep.
Right. But I feel like there's a cautious level, right? I don't think either one of us would ever say, like, if you're in a situation that's bad, that you need to stay in it because God says you gotta forgive. Nah. Like, no. I think that there's a level of wherever you are at in your walk. Like, if you say, I don't feel confident that I know God's voice, then the last thing that you should be doing is being like, well, God told me I need to forgive, so I'm just gonna stay in this house that like God may be telling you to leave from, but you just can't hear. That's what happened to my friend. She recognized, she prayed to God, asking him to fix things and to reveal to her things. And don't you know it? Like when you start asking God to do that, you don't know what way it's gonna happen.
You don't.
And then all hell broke loose in her life. And she realized that she had to get out of the house. Her mother had kicked her out of the apartment that she was renting, but she had to go from this place, because then she realized after having a conversation, she was like, so many things has happened in this house to her mom that she believes is replaying in a cycle,
in a loop,
and now you gotta go.
Jesus.
So
Jesus, it makes sense.
All that, yeah, yep. So like all that being said, it's this. There's a lot of, this is why it's so important, I think, to build your relationship with God, to get close to God, to be able to have intimate relationships with God, to be able, if you gotta be on your face crying every single night and pouring it out to God, then that's what you need to do, because there's no amount of forgiveness that we have in our human hearts is gonna be possible.
Yeah.
And you don't know, like, the things that are being said now, like what you, Jerica, what your sister Jess is gonna say to your mom, it may not work today or tomorrow or next week, but the fact is, like, if you all are living in an answered prayer now, then you know prayer works. That's what my friend told me. She said, I know prayer works, Paula, so I'm gonna need you to pray.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say. It's just like, in any situation that anybody is in, like, you could have a bomb relationship with your mom, but you could have a crappy relationship with your father. You could have an okay relationship. You can have a relationship where you just are in Delulu land, where you're like, you actually hate your parent, but like you are just trying to push through. Like, really actively get into that secret place. If you gotta fast, then fast. If you need to just read your word and pray, then read your word and pray. If you need to be in community, go be in community. But what we're not gonna do is be in denial about the things that we actively need to feed our spirit, and
or be in isolation.
Because that's what I had to tell Ro.
That's the worst thing you could do.
I'm a side quest this real quick, because I had to tell him. I didn't want to tell him. That's how I know it was the Lord. Because I literally was like, I was starting to get like, oh my gosh, if I tell him this, is he gonna get mad at me? What if he goes like, how dare you tell me this? All the things, I'm making this stuff up. And I feel this like, no, you need to say it. So I tell him, I go like, it's crazy. I go like, there's too much wisdom that's gonna be used in you to minister to other people for you to be keeping it unsharpened. You need to be in community with people, because the things that you're going through, that you're isolating yourself with,
it's not gonna cut it.
It's not gonna cut it. And when, was it Manushka Charles? Was she the one that said your prayer life, your current prayer life isn't where it needs to be in order to get...
Yes, because she was talking to a friend and her friend had told her that.
Your current prayer life, or where you are at, is not gonna cut it for where you need to be.
That when I tell you that hit me, that hit me so hard, and I was like, and in that moment I had like the Lord showed me a vision, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be on my face.
Cause like,
and did get on my face, and the next day Holy Spirit said, go talk to your mom. I said,
like, why? But that's what it is though. Like, there's so much that could be unpacked. There's so much that could be said. There's so much that anybody could say. That's what you need to do. At the end of the day, if you're not in a relationship with God and you're not like building on that, there's no, like, you're not gonna hear the whispers.
And that really is what it is, right? Like when the women are like, hey, how do I talk about this, or how do I talk about that, and how do I address this? I guess the answer to my own question is like, how do I even begin to have that conversation with these women? Is like, do you have a relationship with God? Because if you don't, then I have nothing further to discuss with you.
Yes, because I am not that wise myself.
I'm not. Like, if you don't have a relationship and you don't claim Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, the conversation is null and void.
Yes, it's the Holy
Because you're not gonna understand. You're not gonna understand what a pastor friend is saying. And that's her last name, friend.
Yeah.
You're not gonna understand what she's saying when she says she forgave her father. You're not gonna understand that level of forgiveness. You're not gonna understand somebody saying that, you know, this is very real, but you're not gonna understand when someone forgives their mother, but they sold them for a fix. Like, you're not gonna understand those things. You're not gonna understand any of this level of forgiveness that we're talking about if you don't even have a relationship or claim the Lord and Savior that we're talking about, who's giving us the very strength that we need in order to forgive his children, because our parents are too his children. Our parents were also people before they had us, and those are things that we need to remember, regardless of what it is that you have going on. And like, it's a huge ask, but if you are claiming Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, then it's not as big of an ask as you might think it is.
You gotta pick up a cross anyways.
You're gonna have to die to your flesh eventually. I say daily,
hourly. I think I would actually say this is probably my last thing, which is, to your point, you've heard, like, you gotta forgive, you gotta pray, and these are gonna be hard things, 100%. But I think, to both of our points, if your relationship with God isn't first and foremost your priority, all the other things is going to be so hard. We do not lean on our own understanding. We do not lean within our own strength. Even Solomon had to ask God for wisdom and still fumbled that. So, and so it's just we are not meant to do life alone, whether that's with, like, in terms of community with people, but specifically with God. Like, you cannot do it alone. Not in this world. That's all I got.
And that's that on that, mi gente. I'm Nina Montañez.
And I'm Paula WJ.
Stay blessed.